crossroads of the Ozarks. It's the OGs of podcasting, PID Radio. Welcome. I'm Derek Gilbert.
And I'm Sharon Gilbert. Welcome to our living room. We would love to have you sitting on the couch across from us and just having a cup of coffee. Except it's covered by a dog.
That's right. You'd have to kick Grace off the couch, and I don't think she would appreciate
Pretty
that.
much. And Derek is in his recliner. Thank you to the Duttons for moving the recliner from the barn to the living room. He's been really, digging on that. And the dog's,
not so happy. I mean, Grace loved to get up on the couch next to me where I could rub her belly, and there's just not enough room up here for her. So
I'll tell you what. We bought that early, very soon after moving here, at a resale store in Crane, Missouri.
Yeah.
And it was under $100, but it's a used leather recliner with those beautiful brass nail heads trim. And it probably cost a lot of money in its day, but it still works.
It's still in really good shape.
Very.
And boy, it's great for naps. So
it's funny. I feel like, what was her name? Edith Ann, when I sit in the chair, because we actually bought it for me to be a writing chair because my old recliner just died. And I'd written many a book in that recliner. But
this one's a little too large.
It's too large. Fits you perfectly.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm coming to you from the recliner this week, and thank you for joining us. If you have not yet already, please take a moment, download our free mobile app when you get an opportunity. You'll find it at pidradio.com/app or gilberthouse.org/app. Of course, gilberthouse.org is our main web hub for everything we do.
It's our hub.
Yep. The hub of our global media empire.
Gilbert House Actual.
That's right. From which we launch all the, satellites, various things, the drones and alternate and satellite programs. It's available for iOS, Android, Amazon, Kindle Fire devices, and we've also got versions for smart TVs and set-top boxes. You'll find that at the same location, gilberthouse.org/app, pidradio.com/app.
And we will not be canceled there because it's a Christian company that runs all of that. Subsplash. They do a lot of ministries, and they do so for a nominal charge.
Yeah,
we would be paying 10 times what we pay now.
Easily
to get this. So thank you to Subsplash. And if you are a ministry listening to this or a church, consider getting an app done
absolutely.
by Subsplash.
Yeah, it really is. It's
we get nothing for promoting this. I love that company.
Yeah, and their customer service has been really excellent. Whenever we've had a technical issue, they've worked very quickly to get it resolved.
They have.
So, they're really good, and there are features that we haven't even used yet, like live streaming video and things like that.
We'll work on that.
Yeah, that is something to look at for the future as we try to adjust to the new reality, and we'll talk about the new reality in the old geezer report toward the end of the program. But boy, a lot to talk about again this week as we look at the news and the spiritual forces behind the news.
There are a lot of things going on. Top of a lot of people's minds who live here in the United States is the shutdown in Washington.
Yeah.
The Mexican standoff.
In flyover. Yeah, if you haven't seen the meme yet of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, who's the House Minority Leader at the White House, where the White House media team, and I've got to say that whoever the Trump team has deployed to handle social media in this administration, first term wasn't quite so good, but in this administration, it is hilarious. They are out there with memes so quick and showing that the left can't meme.
They really can't. And I think no matter what your stripe of red or blue, you're likely to find most of these at least creative.
Yeah.
You may not laugh, but they are very creative. And there was one yesterday, and it said, well, our media team has gone for the weekend, so...
it's been furloughed.
That's right, because of the shutdown.
Right.
Here's what you get. And it was this little drawing, like a child's drawing of a little Mexican hat.
In crayon, of a sombrero. So, Mexican standoff. But what the point they're making with the meme is that the the political hill that Democrats here in the U.S. have decided to die on is free health care for illegal migrants. Mm-hmm. That's why they refused to vote for the continuing resolution that Republicans had put forward. And the continuing resolution and this is something that should not be allowed under the Constitution. It's the Congress has been getting away with this for 20 years. The last time they passed a budget was in the George W. Bush administration. Mm-hmm. And what they do to keep the government funded is they just pass a continuing resolution. We will just declare the government funded for another 6 months or year at the current levels. And then they tweak it somehow. Again, it shouldn't be allowed. It's basically they're finding legalese to justify not passing a budget as required by the Constitution.
Allow me to read a list of things that the Democrats are allegedly, I have to say, demanding that we fund. $3 million for circumcisions and vasectomies in Zambia. Uh-huh. $833,000 for transgender people in Nepal.
Okay.
$4.2 million for LGBTQ people.
How many are there in Nepal?
None. $4.2 million for LGBTQ people in Western Balkans and Uganda. $3.6 million for pastry cooking classes and dance focus groups for male prostitutes in Haiti. And the list goes on, equally ridiculous.
Oh, my goodness.
And equally Porky Pig is somewhere in there, running for his life because he sees all of the pork being put in here. And I call it pork because you and I, Derek, are aware that these probably aren't actually going to what it says it's going to.
Oh, no. These are going to fund NGOs that typically are very left-wing.
Allegedly, they do these things.
They're essentially money laundering operations for the Democratic Party, but more than that, the really ultra-progressive deep state, which is intending to overturn the will of the people, circumvent the will of because most people, I think, if you put those things forward just did a survey of the American public, those things, it's like, no, we don't want to pay for that.
I think that there's a little memory in my brain that's just trying to fire, and I think some of these end-user reasons were defunded through the defunding of USAID.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's a sneaky way of refunding them. And
the purpose is undermining not just the will of the people here in the United States, because I got to believe a majority, at least 70% of Americans would say, no, that's stupid. We're not spending our tax money on that. Uh-huh. But it's also to undermine the will and to transform the societies of the countries in which that money is going to be spent, assuming it goes for those actual things. A lot of the money we're finding, and this is something that President Trump has vowed to tackle, is being recycled back through organizations like the Open Society Foundation, the Tides Foundation.
And that's where I was going next with this. So
right. The Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, all of these 501c3 charitable organizations.
I would challenge all of our listeners to look up Tides Foundation. You will find that they are connected to a lot of Antifa and other protest, quote-unquote, organizations. And I'm saying this is what I have found online. Now, if you want to tell me that I'm wrong, then you're going to have to blame the AI that is telling me this information when I look it up on Google. But you will find that Tides, not only that, but Just Stop Oil, climate change agendas in a variety of countries, and probably, I haven't seen it, that I've looked at it, but probably trans agendas as well.
Yeah.
And possibly even pro-immigrant agendas.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Groups like Antifa and the propaganda operations. In fact, I was trying to find the article that I'd seen just a few minutes ago, and I hadn't flagged it, sadly.
What's the article?
Oh, there it is. the Tides Foundation, which is one of the groups that George Soros donates to. But the Tides Foundation, thanks to a user on X called Data Republican.
Oh, yeah, I love that account.
Her name is Jenica Pounds. She is digging into open source information that most of us don't have the time to dig into, and finding this information and then pushing it out to X. The Federal Register, according to Data Republican, found that the Tides Foundation is funding Wikipedia. So many of us have, just we use
it's donation,
Yeah, and Wikipedia actually has a lot of money behind it. I mean, you go there, and right now they've got it seems like every 3 months they've got another fundraiser. Please, just $2.75 will help us keep. They don't need the money.
They don't, and I'm not going to give it to them.
They have tons of money.
Stop bugging me.
But it pushes out very slanted, especially when it comes to social issue topics, very slanted views. And so to that end, Elon Musk has announced he is going to launch Grokpedia.
I know. I can't wait to see it.
Now, I know that there was another alternative out there, and I'm not sure it's even out there anymore because I don't see him writing about it. Vox Day, whose real name is Theo Beale, a writer, a publisher. He's written actually a fantasy series.
Throne of Bones?
Throne of Bones and A Sea of Skulls was the follow-up.
Yeah.
Which is like Game of Thrones, but with God.
And werewolves.
He uses, but he's also got sort of the Tolkien-esque world in which he writes. But
so you have
anyway, so if you're interested,
fantasy creatures,
right? Yeah, orcs and elves and dwarves and so forth, but with Roman legions and with like an early version of the Church of Rome,
and hence the Throne of Bones.
Throne of Bones, and he also gets a little bit into the Nephilim in it, although he doesn't really use that word. But anyway, my point is, if you're interested in a high fantasy type series, like Tolkien, like George R.R. Martin, which is Song of Fire and Ice, Game of Thrones,
and it's nihilistic. His is not Vox Day's.
Right.
Martin's.
Yeah, Martin is very nihilistic. Yeah, the good guys always die. The bad, there is no good.
Not in George R.R. Martin's world.
But in Vox Day, Throne of Bones, Sea of Skulls.
Yep.
Yeah, you actually have heroes, villains, and a God at the center of it.
Yeah, this is a Christian writer, Vox Day.
Anyway, he had created a site called InfoGalactic, which was
I'd forgotten about that.
Fork of Wikipedia. And InfoGalactic is still available online. So if you're looking for an alternative that already exists, it just doesn't have the money of Elon Musk behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm a little more inclined to trust Vox Day than Elon Musk when it comes to information. I just don't know, again, because they don't have the money behind it. InfoGalactic hasn't gotten the traffic that Grokpedia probably will.
What I know, one of my concerns about organizations like Wikipedia is that not only will they change, for instance, if there's an entry, and there probably is, on the current shutdown, then they will slant it to the left. But if you look at historical entries, let's say the Jan Sobieski moment at the Siege of Vienna, it may be written that, Jan Sobieski was the bad guy. That it would have been better had the Turks been allowed in. Because they just wanted to be good and be nice.
They were taking down the evil Habsburg Empire.
That's exactly the kind of thing I fear, because most people now don't have an encyclopedia set in their home, printed. We had one in our house, even though we had practically no money. Mom had gotten one by getting it at the grocery store. Every time she spent a certain amount, she was allowed to buy one of the volumes for like another 50 cents or something ridiculously low. So we had, believe it or not, Funk and Wagnalls. Yes, those of you who remember laughing, Funk and Wagnalls. That was and if you don't have printed books, and I would say older ones, older history books.
Yeah.
That's what you want to verify the stuff you're finding online, because now humans may be changing it, but eventually algorithms may be changing it.
Right. And coming back to Theo Beale, Fox Day, his Castalia House Publishing is putting out classic volumes, classic works, Greek philosophers, Roman historians, things like that.
Oh, good.
So that some of these classic works are preserved, and he's even going so far as to bind some of them in actual leather.
Well, here's an example. There have been, over the last 5 or 6 years, a rebranding of Rome, Egypt. Cleopatra apparently was black. Apparently, Queen Charlotte was also a woman of
Spain.
No. Queen Charlotte. I think she was from one of the Germanic states, and she married George the Fourth, King George the Fourth, the regent. Before George the Third finally died, he hated her. He didn't like her at all. But there are some early portraits by people that don't know if they were paid by the king, and he said, well, I don't like her, don't paint her well. But she appears to have slightly darker skin than you would expect from a Teutonic princess. But she was white. She was an Aryan, if you want to put it that way, but no, she was actually Teutonic. She came from a northern country.
Right.
There were other. Beethoven is sometimes now claimed to be, he was black.
Yeah.
Except he wasn't.
No. He was Klingon. Everybody knows
Everybody knows that, just like Shakespeare was.
Exactly, yes.
But we're also
Hamlet
seeing
much better
things
than the original
like
Klingon.
Bridgerton, a lot of alternate interpretations of history that if you don't know history, you'll think that that's legit.
Oh, yeah. Like in Vikings, where they turned Jarl, Haken, I think I'm probably mispronouncing it, who was a well-known, Jarl is Earl. That's a title of a ruler among the Vikings. And I'm sorry, but the Norwegians, the Swedes, the Danes back in the day were Nordic, which means typically fairer skin and very often blonde. Not always, but definitely not African and definitely not a woman. I mean, women in their culture had a lot of rights that were not given to women among Roman.
Some of them were trained to fight.
And some of them trained to fight. But again, yes, this rewriting of history to colorize it. I mean, look, we could do some really interesting stuff in African history. There's some fascinating characters historically in Africa, but they don't get the same kind of coverage. I mean, let's dig into African history and look at some of those fascinating African kingdoms. Why it's the same thing we see with modern entertainment. For example, the race and gender swapping that takes place with the characters in like the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh yeah.
Let's take this character. Let's make Thor a woman. Let's make let's make the successor to Tony Stark as Iron Man.
Well,
a black girl.
The successor to Black Panther was his sister.
Yeah.
Because the actor died, so they made Black Panther a woman.
But again, the race and gender swapping only goes one way. Let's take away the white men and transform them into women and women of color, or women with who are, androgynous or whatever. So getting back to, the point, let's get to some actual authentic preservation of history, because if we don't know where we came from, we will not be able to ascertain the path we are traveling.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. Sever us from our history so that we have no roots. We have no foundation.
That's absolutely true. Also, the saying that those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it is true.
Yeah. And
we are repeating the mistakes that led up to World War I.
Yes. And the European Union seems bound and determined to provoke a war with Russia. There's a story here that...
didn't Trump send a bunch of stuff over there?
Selling it to the European Union and then saying to the EU, if you want to send this on to Ukraine, I won't stop you. But it's sort of like, the onus is on you. We're not going to send this stuff to Ukraine anymore. We're not going to give it to Ukraine anymore.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I thought a couple of days ago I saw a story on X that he had directly sent it. Maybe it was being spun that way on X.
I know. Well, I haven't seen it. I've been kind of focused on what's going on in Israel and what's going on with the alleged peace deal with Hamas. But there is a story that a new drone base for Ukraine has been set up in Poland, which will be overseen by Norway. So the Norwegians are training Ukrainian soldiers in southeastern Poland, and so there is another step closer to war. The Poles are kind of divided on this because they're getting really tired of hosting Ukrainian refugees and having to pay for them. There historically has been tension between the Poles and the Ukrainians, and also between the Poles and the Russians. But the government of Poland is divided, where the prime minister of Poland is from the party that is globalist and is wanting to essentially, slug it out with Russia. And the president is from a more nationalist party that said, hey, that would be stupid, and wanting to follow the path that the Hungarians and the Czechs are taking, which is more like, hey, we can buy all the cheap gas we can use from Russia. Why is the rest of Europe trying to hamstring our economy?
Yeah.
And so, but it does look like the globalists, and that would include the deep state here in the U.S., is just agitating for a fight with Russia. And I'm not quite sure why they want to do that. And how, when we look at the way the media here in the U.S. has treated Ukraine, I mean, up until the war began, mainstream media was reporting on Ukraine as being the most corrupt country on earth, and how some of the militia units that formed the bulk of the fighting forces on the front lines against Russia were literal Nazis. The Azov battalion. And Ukraine has just promoted the founder of the Azov regiment to brigadier general in the regular Ukrainian army.
Yeah, and let us not forget that Poland was invaded by the Nazis and wasn't treated well by the Nazis. Dachau was the first concentration camp, and it was in Poland and was built by Poles, and a lot of Poles were sent there. And to have Nazi individuals or battalions with Nazi roots be promoted and applauded, I'm sure doesn't go over well.
No, it does not. But it's a fact that it's just an inconvenient truth that has been ignored by the media here in the West, because we throw about that four-letter word Nazi, and
it's lost its power.
It's lost its power, but where it's actually applicable is in regards to many of these nationalists in Ukraine. We're literally supporting the Hans. Are we the baddies?
And that gets back to understanding true history.
Yes.
Because calling people Nazi, calling people Hitler, these are terms that are used so often now. They've lost their meaning. And if you actually looked at the images that resulted from the Nazi occupation of various countries and the things that were done to the Jews and the Gypsies and the communists and many other groups that Hitler didn't like them.
Yeah.
He didn't like gays.
No.
If you were gay, you went to a concentration camp.
Right. Yeah. And the left, and again, left-right is losing its meaning here because they've lapped themselves and now they are meeting back there in the center. Two faces
of the same head.
Yeah. Because the so-called anti-fascists here in the United States are the ones who are trying to shut down anybody they disagree with.
Yeah, they are behaving like fascists.
Yeah.
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 Left turn. Couple of things. One is that there are a number of outbreaks in Africa and elsewhere that are going on. Cholera, Mpox, which used to be called monkeypox, but it's now Mpox, Ebola. These are all going on in Africa right now. And I bring this up because the United Nations is trying to get the entire world, including the United States, to agree to a new set of health, quote-unquote, rules, guidelines, laws that refer to non-communicable health emergencies. And this includes mis- and disinformation.
Now, we talked about this a year ago we were talking about.
I know, but it's no longer the emergency health regulations.
Yeah.
That
the
it's now the
health
UN.
Regulations. Right?
Yeah, international, sorry. It's now the UN. Oh, we worked for 5 months to get this. Oh, rats, the United States has said we can't have it. Well, they're blaming Trump for saying we can't take care of the world. What this actually is, exactly, this is a blueprint for controlling every bit of the world through micromanagement, telling us what we can think, telling us what we can say, telling us where we can go. Bobby Kennedy Jr. there's a video that I watched.
There we go, non-communicable diseases. Yeah, and of course NPR.
Oh, they're all in favor of it.
Yeah. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. proceeded to throw a monkey wrench into the path of a highly anticipated United Nations political declaration on non-communicable diseases.
Yeah.
Non-communicable diseases. It's a massive disappointment to hear a government step away, said Allison Cox. Who is Allison Cox?
Well,
don't know who she is. Oh, policy director for NCD Alliance, a global advocacy, another NGO.
Yeah. I've got the actual document if you want to. It's revision 4 of it.
5 months of global negotiations by governments, health experts, and members of civil society.
Yep.
Did anybody? We didn't get to vote on this.
We did not. And I'll say again what I said to you this morning, honey. I want Trump to invite the UN to politely leave.
Yeah.
Move your building to another country.
Go to Geneva.
Go to Canada if you want to. Yeah, go to Geneva. But don't stay here because you guys are getting diplomatic immunity.
Yeah.
And all sorts of nice perks when you hate the United States.
Yeah, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
In fact, I think that many of these world leaders just don't like people in general. It's ironic that the Georgia Guidestones were blown up several years ago because it was a declaration of what I think, hi Grace, I think the UN and other globalists would like to see happen, and that's fewer people to take care of.
Yeah.
Hi. Did you just belch?
They're so non-communicable diseases, including strokes and lung disease. But what they don't include here in this NPR article, which you wouldn't expect because NPR is part of the left. Yeah, they very very much globalist. Is the infodemics at the World Health Organization?
But it's in the Declaration.
It's in the Declaration. Okay. Well. Yeah.
Social media damage to their mental health through misinformation and disinformation.
Oh, I see. So getting misinformation causes additional stress. That's a mental health issue. Mm-hmm. Therefore, is health. Therefore, we should have control over
mental health is at the core of this.
Uh-huh.
Because if you use mental health as your excuse, then you can go anywhere with it.
Uh-huh.
And you can say, this poor young man, he wants to be a girl so badly. It's his mental health that's at risk.
The more I search for things in the news like this, mm-hmm. where you're trying to detect the globalist agenda behind the news item, the more I realize that Google is not going to serve up that information.
It is not.
I need to switch to DuckDuckGo or somebody else that's less.
But I did find it at Google.
Well, you have to dig.
I know, because I was digging this morning before you got up. I was digging to find it. I originally got the tip-off by watching Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s little speech at X. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have an X account, if you're listening to this and you don't have an X account, it used to be called Twitter, but it's X, and you can get a much greater variety of news and information there, because Elon Musk, so far, and I have to say I'm grateful to him for this, he does allow free speech on all, you can be to the left, you can be to the right. It tends to be a little more center and right on X, but I see all sorts of opinions. And it's a good place to find news like this, because there are accounts on there that do nothing but dig for news like this.
Yeah. That is...
like Data Republican.
Yes. So it's become a better source of news than some of the news apps that I use, and certainly than Google News, because what it serves up, again, is very definitely slanted and filtered.
Yeah.
So if you're using Google to search for things in the news, just be aware that your perception of what's going on out there is being shaped by Google's left-leaning algorithm.
Well, Grace
I would say
is
almost left-wing algorithm.
Grace is over here calming me down.
Okay, well
Since you're in chair, you don't get to. I've got 2 dogs over here calming me down.
There you go.
I'm getting kisses.
Well, let's take a break and kind of enjoy the calm, and we come back. We do need to talk about the proposed peace deal with Hamas, the treaty between the United States and Qatar and what that all means, and perhaps even the Pope's blessing of the waters.
Oh, good
and
grief,
Arnold, who was there helping them wave the blue cloth to represent the waters of the world. Ah, yes, so calming, the calming waters. More PID Radio in just a minute.
There were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that. It was a time of gods and dragons.
This was supernatural war between Jesus, God, and the old gods.
We live in the final stage of a war that began before God said, "Let there be light."
The gods of ancient Sumer.
These giants are all through the Bible.
The things that are going on in the world right now, I'm sorry, but the writers, they're out.
Now, a fresh look at the end times that reveals the prophecy of the giants at Armageddon. names the four horsemen of the apocalypse already loose in the world today.
These entities are real entities and not just metaphors or symbols.
And they're all named.
Unmasks the ancient dragons who will walk the earth during the Great Tribulation.
A primordial entity such as Kronos or Chaos, Leviathan, Tiamat.
His breath kindles coals and a flame comes forth from his mouth. What is he describing here, if not a dragon?
And unveils hidden prophecies of their ultimate destruction. Giants, Gods, and Dragons by Sharon K. Gilbert and Derek P. Gilbert from Defender Publishing.
Welcome back to PID Radio. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert. We want to remind you we are going to Israel this month.
Just 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, Derek and I leave. So for about 3 weekends, you won't get PID Radio. You won't get Gilbert House Fellowship. And you may have sporadic 5 and 10s. We'll see how well you're able to put those in there. But if something does break, we will definitely... Derek will, even if he has to record it on the bus.
Yeah, we'll try to get information out. We will also, I'm sure we'll have some YouTube short videos from the various locations along the way. Yeah.
And it is probably too late now to sign up for this October's tour of Israel, but we're going to go back next October. So if you are interested, you can go to gilberthouse.org/travel. And I think the October 26 dates are on there.
Yes, got that on the website, gilberthouse.org/travel.
Yep, and Doug Van Dorn, Judd Burton.
Yep, they will be our special guests next year. So if you're interested, you can already inquire, and there's a link there to take you to Lipkin Tours, and they will have all the information for you. They got the pricing set up, and get your reservation in early for 2026. I know of at least one lady who said that she's planning to join us in 2026.
I am so excited.
She meant to do it this year, but things didn't work out. You know, life comes at you sometimes and throws you a curveball when you're looking for the high fastball. Yes.
Oh, you're just wanting to hang out the flag that has a W.
Oh, yeah, the W flag.
The Cubs report.
Chicago Cubs are back in the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. They won their first round series against the San Diego Padres, which is revenge for 1984 when the Padres knocked out the Cubs and kept the Cubs out of the World Series that year. Then they went on to get curb stomped by the Detroit Tigers. But so in your face, Padres.
Well, I can celebrate because IU football is going so well.
That is right. IU is 5-0 on the season.
Signetti, woo!
And that game against Illinois, they went in ranked 19th. Illinois was ranked 9th, and they beat Illinois 63-10. So
yep, I think IU's ranked 8th. Now.
Ranked 8th right now, and they've got a bye week this week, but next week they play Oregon.
Yep,
and that'll be tough. Oregon is ranked 2nd in the country.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting because I've gone to University of Nebraska and I've also gone to Indiana University. My degree's from IU. When I was at University of Nebraska in Lincoln, UNL, which is where the football stadium is, football was awesome. And everybody went to the games.
Right.
Well, when I was at IU, football was not so awesome. But it is now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm gone.
You know,
I thought about that.
I have had a similar thing with the my hobby in the barbershop quartet singing and chorus singing. There are probably 125 guys who've won district or international championship medals since I stopped singing with them. The St. Charles, Missouri chapter, the Ambassadors of Harmony, they've won 5 times now, international. But a good friend of mine, Paul Schulte and his quartet, Doug Brooks singing lead with him in this new quartet called Improv. They won the Illinois District Championship last weekend, so congratulations. 30 years ago, Paul and I sang in a quartet. As a joke, we called it Gag Time. Placed 11th in our one contest, but got a standing ovation when we were called out for the second round to do mic testing. We'd only learned 2 songs, so we had to learn 2 more songs like overnight. It's like we could just tell them we don't know 2 more songs. No, let's come up with something. So we worked up a routine, and we actually got a standing ovation.
Wasn't it something like, we learned 2 songs?
Yeah, to the tune of Sweet Adeline. So anyway, the big news of the week, I think, was that President Trump proposed his 20-point peace plan for ending the war in Gaza. And I think to the surprise of a lot of people, although, what's the devil is in the details, as they say.
Yeah.
Hamas, and I note that they waited until Friday night, Israel time. In other words, they waited until Shabbat to say, okay, we agree. But in their agreement, there's nothing in there about them disarming. And there is the other aspect of it is they want to have a future role in the governance of the Palestinian people. Now, again, we say Palestinian people, that is a designator of place. It's like Chicagoan. The people who call themselves Palestinians are just the ones who live in the Palestinian
It's not
territories.
a genetic determinant.
They're sort of Arab, but they're mixed with other ethnicities.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll just use that term because it's convenient. But just we understand that there is no such ethnicity as a Palestinian. They want a role in ruling the territories referred to as Palestinian, which would be Judea and Samaria, the areas that were designated the areas that were given up by Jordan in 1988. Israel conquered what the world calls the West Bank in 1967, part of the Six-Day War. And Jordan renounced its claims on that territory in 1988. The people who lived there under Jordanian rule from 1948 to 1967 had never had autonomy. They were ruled by the king of Jordan until Israel took over, and then they've been under Israeli rule since then, since the Oslo Accords in 1993. They've had limited autonomy, and there are certain areas in Judea and Samaria, like most of the city of Hebron, except for the area around the Cave of the Patriarchs, the city of Bethlehem, Ramallah, Nablus. Those are ruled, Jericho, those are ruled by the Palestinian Authority. And Gaza was one of those areas. Israel took Gaza from Egypt in 1967 and then wanted to give it back. And Egypt said, no, we don't want it. You keep it. And the reason for this is the other Arab nations in the region know that the Palestinians are a pain in the you-know-what, because everywhere they go, they cause trouble. They tried to overthrow the king of Jordan in the 1970s. It was 1970. And the Jordanian army had to go to war against the PLO. Kicked them out. They went to Lebanon, and they started a civil war in Lebanon. So the 157 nations around the world now recognize an independent Palestinian state. Hamas said, okay, we'll lay down our arms, we'll return the hostages, but we're not, actually they didn't say we're going to lay down our arms. They didn't say anything about demilitarizing, and they didn't say anything, they say that they want a role in the government. That's
my understanding of the Hamas demands is that they want the territory going back to pre-1948, not pre-1967. They want 48.
Well,
in other words, before Israel was a sovereign nation.
Well, they want it along the 1948 armistice lines, but that's the same thing as the pre-1967 borders. It's just by saying 1948, it sounds more
palatable to the
official.
I have a different opinion on that, but I think the language is intentional.
Yeah.
To them, it's more about erasing the fact that Israel has ever been there. Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yes, that's
why I think
that's a better way of putting it.
pre-1948.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. It remains to be seen whether this will actually hold. Because if Hamas is saying, leaving itself a loophole, and I'm sure that both the Israelis and President Trump have looked at this and say, look, if they're not going to say that they're going to demilitarize, I mean, the whole point of this was, we'll let you guys live, but if you're willing to demilitarize and remain in peace, we'll let you stay in Gaza. If Hamas, you're not willing, anyone who's not willing to swear that you're going to give up force, violence, then you have to leave Gaza.
They'll just lie.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the thing with Islam. You're allowed to lie to the kafar, to the infidels.
Yeah, in fact, you're sort of expected to lie to them.
Exactly.
It's called taqiyya.
Yep, taqiyya, and the other is called tawira, which means withholding information. Mm-hmm. Somebody asks you, "Hey, can I borrow $1?" And you say, "No, I haven't got a penny in my pocket." Mm-hmm. Okay, you don't have a penny in there. You got like $50, mm-hmm. but you're just so you're not lying. Yeah. You're just not telling the whole truth. That's tawira, and that is what I think Hamas may be engaging in here, and certainly the Israelis, who've got long experience with Muslims and with Arabs, understand this. So I don't know that this is going to hold. A lot of the other Arab nations, Turkey, which is not an Arab nation, of course, but Muslim nations, have backed the peace plan. Hamas claims it's accepting it, but I think they're accepting it in a way that allows them to reject it.
Well, here's the thing also. Whoever the leaders are in Hamas that are negotiating this may well not be the leaders in a year. They might agree to it and genuinely agree to it, and then someone else comes along and says, I don't agree to that, therefore you die.
Well, yeah.
They don't elect one another. They just sort of reject or affirm. Mm-hmm. And it's done with great,
extreme prejudice.
Extreme prejudice. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And Israel right now is still. I think the IDF has put the campaign in Gaza on pause during these negotiations, but they have. And here's the thing about Israel: they will try to keep everybody who is just a citizen. All of the innocent bystanders, they will try their very best to keep them from harm. They will tell them, leave, don't come back, we're still doing this, and they go door to door. Whereas Hamas, they don't care. And in fact, they don't care about their own citizens.
No, that's it. It's been reported that 800,000 people have moved out of Gaza City to the humanitarian zone in the south of the Gaza Strip. There are only 2 million people in Gaza, so roughly half the population of Gaza, the Gaza Strip, lived in Gaza City.
I'm nodding and smiling because that very number was quoted by, it was an MP in Great Britain, and she was saying 800,000 children have been killed in Gaza.
Yeah, there aren't that many children in Gaza.
Did you just scan the document with that? Did you just see the number and thought, well, that's probably it? Or did your assistant give you that number?
Yeah, and add a couple of zeros.
Yeah.
The number that's been thrown about by the Hamas Health Ministry is 60,000 total.
Children?
No, deaths.
Oh.
Total deaths. But those who've analyzed the numbers, first of all, Hamas conflates militants with civilians. And when you start breaking out the numbers, you find that more than half of those who have died are male between the ages of, I think, 12 and 50. And that constitutes fighting age. I mean, if you're 12, 13 years old, you get a gun.
Yeah.
In
fact, you're trained on them when you're much younger.
Yeah. So the majority of those who have died in Gaza are men of fighting age. And secondly, that being the case, the ratio of civilians to militants killed is the lowest in the history of urban warfare. Israel has worked really hard to make, and getting accurate numbers out of Gaza is practically impossible because, again, the numbers are coming from Hamas in the first place, and they've got an incentive to lie.
Yeah, they call it Pallywood.
Yeah, and they've been using social media as well as, if not better than, of course, they've got the benefit of the corporate media, the legacy media, which is anti-Israel. When I hear these complaints from people who say that Israel controls the media, the Jews control the media, it's like, really? Because it would seem to me that Israel would get much better coverage if Jews actually controlled the media.
I think the world will all be pro-Israel if
that
Jews
was the case.
Controlled media.
You wouldn't have 157 nations recognizing an imaginary state of Palestine if that were the case. Israel has moved 800,000 people to the south of Gaza, and you're right, Hamas is dragging this out as long as they possibly can, expressly to extend the misery of its own people. Because the more images and video of suffering Gazans get spread around the world, the more the world pressures Israel.
Look what they have achieved since October 7 of 2023. They now have a whole bunch of countries who've not only said, we're pro-Palestinian, they now say Palestine is a legit country.
Right.
We're going to put our embassies there. We don't want to put them in Ramallah.
Yeah.
We don't nobody wants to live there. But we are going to have their embassy here in London or wherever. And it is not a good idea.
No.
And yet we're seeing, if you look at Great Britain, I follow a lot of news out of Britain. And many of the councils from Manchester and Liverpool and industrial cities in the north and even some of the pastoral cities in the south of England and the traditional blue-collar worker, I guess we'd call them, these councils are now run by Muslims. They're populated by Muslims.
Right.
And Arabic is the language spoken by the mayor.
Yeah. Speaking of Manchester, that was the site of that terrorist attack that took place earlier this week at a synagogue in Manchester.
Yes.
And the fellow who was, he was shot dead. It was a car and knife attack. He drove into the crowd. This is the Heaton Park Congregation Synagogue, and it took place on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. The attacker was a Syrian. They describe him as a Manchester man. He's not English just because he's living there. He was brought there as a child by his father.
And
but he's a Syrian. He's Arab.
He had mental health issues, is what we were told.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. That seems to be the common denominator in a lot of these attacks, mental health issues.
Yeah. 35-year-old Jihad El-Shami. And the guy's name is literally Jihad. And police, after a couple of days, finally said, well, he may have been influenced by extreme Islamist ideology. Well, let me correct you on that there, UK police. It's not extreme because fundamentalist Islam, Islam, the way Muhammad taught it, is violent.
I know, but they aren't allowed to say that.
Yeah.
They are allowed to come to your door at 3 a.m. and tell you put hurty words on social media.
Yeah, he was heard yelling Allahu Akbar, of course, wielding a large knife, shouted, "This is what you get for killing our children," as he tried to break in the door. There was a gentleman on the far side of the door who as police were trying to neutralize the attacker, sadly was shot through the door, and he was one of the two victims who died, which is really, really sad. But here's the thing. Jihad al-Shami, of course, the attacker, the Home Secretary of the United Kingdom is a woman named Shabana Mahmood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, well.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a country that is now going to allow cousins to marry because that is typical in Islam. It has been illegal for first cousins to marry.
Yeah.
For about, 75, 80 years or more in the UK.
And it's been going back to biblical times. It's been at least frowned upon. But in the Western world, once we determined, it's like, hey, wait a minute. We notice when you marry too close to the family, you wind up getting a higher percentage of birth defects.
You do, and it's a bad idea. But
in nations in Islamic nations, Islamic cultures, cousin marriage is very prominent. And so now the National Health Service in the UK has actually issued guidance saying that, marrying your cousins actually has some advantage.
Yeah. God bless all of you listeners who live in the UK. Look, we pray for you. We really do, because you have a leadership that is pro-Islam.
Yeah. New York Post reporting on this, let's see, this was Wednesday. UK's National Health Service came under fire after publishing guidance that experts claim promoted interfamily unions, despite well-documented concerns about the increased risk of birth defects. Research cited in the article titled, "Should the UK Government Ban First Cousin Marriage?" described various potential benefits of marrying a first cousin, quote, including stronger extended family support systems and economic advantages, end quote.
Oh, gosh.
The child may have all kinds of health issues growing up, but hey, at least you've got extended family support systems.
Oh, and here's the other thing. There are immigrants living in sweet, sweet hotels that don't pay a dime for any health care.
Yeah.
They don't pay rent. They don't pay for utilities. They don't pay for health care.
Yeah.
But left turn. In the meantime, in Nigeria and other countries like that, there are Christians who are being burned out of their villages, and some are burned alive in their homes. These include children.
Yeah.
And this is being done upon Christians by Muslims.
Yeah, and it's being ignored because, God bless him, Bill Maher.
Yeah, he brought it up.
Politically is a guy that we would agree with about almost nothing. Brought it up on his program a week ago Friday. He had Representative Nancy Mace, who's a Republican representative in Congress from South Carolina, and she brought it up. And Maher, to his credit, was very much aware of the situation. He said, this is, why is the media not talking about this? He said, it's because Jews aren't involved. He said, now in Gaza, a stray tank shell hits a church and several people get injured, and Christians across the West are outraged. We talked some weeks ago about the fake news report that a church had been burned in a village which is actually very close to where friends of ours live.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
literally on the other side of a hill.
It is, and it was actually an archaeological site.
It was an archaeological site. It was the ruins of a Byzantine era church.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, it hadn't burned at all. It was the field near it, and the Israelis involved were trying to stop. They were trying to put out the fire.
Yes.
It was a grass fire, and they were trying to put it out because it was threatening their olive trees.
Yep.
So anyway, that stuff makes the news. But in Nigeria, so far this year, out of the first 220 days of 2025, 7,000 Christians have been killed by Muslims. Mm-hmm. In between 2009 and 2025, so it's roughly a 15-year period, 16-year period, 125,000 Christians have been killed.
I think that's more people than live in this county.
Oh, it's 4 times the number of people that live in this county. There are about
this is a big county.
30,000 people in our county.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I made that a featured story Thursday on 5 and 10. And I actually apologized for not bringing more attention to it. So I'm glad you brought it up here on this program, because as we get caught up in things like the government shutdown and will former FBI Director James Comey go to jail for lying to Congress, we're missing a literal genocide that is taking place in Gaza. And I got some pushback from people saying, are you crazy? Gaza is the genocide. No. Gaza is a war that could end, and maybe it has ended with Hamas accepting Trump's peace terms, but it will end the minute Hamas literally actually sets down its weapons, and it is hiding behind its people, which is why civilians are being killed.
And
in Nigeria, people are being literally targeted for extermination because of their religious beliefs.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
That is the difference. Let me say a couple of things. One is that those who are chanting from the river to the sea, that's saying they want all Jews gone.
Right.
That's calling for genocide.
Exactly.
And, what was the other thing I was about to say? I've lost my thread. Something you said, and I thought I need to jump in here with that, but whatever it was is just slap out of my head.
Difference between Hamas hiding behind civilians and civilians being targeted?
I know what it was. It was a preacher, and he may have even been one of the mayors in one of the northern towns in the UK. I watched a video of him, and he not only said, we are going to take out all of the Jews, and the Christians are next.
It's what Avi Lipkin has been saying for years, and I think now finally people are beginning to listen. And I will admit, and I've told Avi this, when we first heard him at the first prophecy conferences we attended back in 2011, 2012, I thought Avi was, okay, this guy is dangerous. He is... he is like an uber Zionist. He's
dangerous to those on the left because he's telling the truth.
Well, that's exactly right. As I've actually studied the history of Islam, come to realize that Avi is right, and what he says is what they say. We'll come for the Saturday people first, and then they go to mosque on Friday, and then they attack the Saturday people, and then the Sunday people.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what this Muslim mayor is saying. But here in the United States, a Christian pastor in Dearborn, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit, which is now majority Muslim, I think, but the city council and the mayor are Muslim, was complaining about a street in Dearborn being renamed for a newspaper publisher, an Arab newspaper publisher in Dearborn, who has been very openly pro-Hezbollah and pro-Hamas for years. And so at a city council meeting, this pastor stood up and said, look, as a constituent, I have problem with renaming one of our streets for a guy who is openly supporting terrorism, the use of terrorism against, anybody, but against, Israel in particular. And the mayor basically told him to shut up, and if he didn't like it, get out of town. And when you leave this town, I will personally lead a parade celebrating the fact that because you are not welcome here. Like, look, this is happening in the United States.
Yes, it's not as prevalent here in the U.S. yet as it is in the UK, but it's coming.
It is coming. I saw an interesting article, which I think made a really good point, that there are groups like Muslims, like CAIR, which is the Council on American Islamic Relations, like the Satanic Church, which has done this with its Baphomet statues that it's placed in state capitals around the country. Here in Missouri, filed a lawsuit claiming that the anti-abortion law that was passed after Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court was unconstitutional because they considered abortion a sacrament. They're trying to use...
Oh, the Satanic Temple did?
The Satanic Temple did.
Yeah,
right.
I lost the thread of...
Yeah, they're trying to use First Amendment rights to the free exercise of religion to allow them to make inroads into the United States.
Do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law to them.
Right.
It's Aleister Crowley.
But I read an op-ed piece that said, back in the 19th century, the First Amendment protections notwithstanding, the United States government said to the Church of Latter-day Saints in Utah, if you want Utah to become a state in the Union, you're going to have to give up polygamy.
Yeah.
So, and they did.
Yeah, which is why
officially.
It's still illegal.
Right. And there are still some who kind of do it on the sly.
I know. The whole Jeffries or whatever his name was.
Yep.
Jeffers, maybe?
Yeah, Jeffers. But they're Warren Jeffs.
That was it. Sorry.
But there are others who've still kind of done it on the QT. But the point is that the United States government said, we don't care that that's how you exercise your religion. If you want to become a state, you're going to have to give that up. The United States government needs to do the same thing with Sharia. Say, look, if you want to be citizens of the United States, you're going to have to give up Sharia.
There is a case, and I think it's in the UK, of Arab women who were spray painting graffiti onto a church. And I think Open Doors Church or something like that, Uncommon Church, whatever it was chosen by them because they felt that it was, I guess, the most accessible. But their defense, it's in court right now, and the defense of the Arab women is that, the Muslim women, is that it's our free speech right.
To commit?
To spray paint whatever we want to onto a church.
No, that would be considered vandalism.
I know, but watch them get off. Yeah, this is a big test.
Well, yeah, because again, the UK is already, the UK has fallen. Europe has fallen.
And has the Pope, as he has blessed the ice block and saved the world from climate change.
Yeah. Look, 2.2 billion Christians on planet Earth, 1.6 billion identify as Roman Catholic. The Pope, if he wanted to do something good, could support the bishop from Nigeria, the archbishop, who a lot of people wanted to become the next pope.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought he would.
His first name is Peter, and I can't remember his last name.
Peter the Roman? Well, seriously, at the time, a lot of people thought he was going to be the next pope because he was so popular. And they were assuming that this was going to be Peter the Roman.
Which, is
I know.
Is kind of hilarious given that he's, Nigerian. Anyway.
But he would have lived in Rome.
Yep. Well, yeah. But instead of doing that, he was blessing the waters by putting his hands on a block of ice and saying a blessing over it. Then you had the really weird pagan-esque ritual with people holding the long strands of blue cloth to represent the rivers and stuff.
I know.
It's all climate changey, globalist stuff.
If you've read anything that Derek and I have written and the things that Derek has written on his own, you will find that chaos is essentially the sea, Yam. This is an entity. The rivers, Judge Nahar, these are entities. And going way back, you can pick just about any group of people worldwide. And they believe that the waters are governed by deities.
Yeah.
And I've got to let these two dogs in. Come on in.
Cardinal Peter Okpalecki, which I'm sure is not...
Oh, you're really tough. Well, Gloria's just made a comment.
Can you hear? Yeah, I said, boy, that's just not right. So anyway, the whole, you can see the video, and for some reason Arnold Schwarzenegger was there and was part of that ritual and helping to wave the cloth and it just absolutely bizarre. It's like what exactly was going on there. What am I looking at? Because it's like I don't know what I'm saying.
He's a
here.
White Sox fan, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Well, Matt Walsh, who is with the Daily Wire, and he's Roman Catholic. Mm-hmm. He said this whole thing was horrific. Pope Leo blesses a block of ice, then stands there while these communist freaks do some kind of weird pagan earth-worshipping hippie ritual. Matt Walsh does not mince words.
He does not. That's well put.
Don't agree with him on everything, but I think that was a good way of describing it.
I think now we go to the OG report.
I think you are correct. Oh, one very quick thing. The peace deal with Qatar. President Trump announced this week that we've signed a deal that's very much like Article 5 of the NATO treaty with Qatar. So an attack on Qatar would be considered an attack on the national interests of the United States. Now, bear in mind, we've got a really big air base in Qatar. So
I do realize that, and therefore an attack on Qatar is essentially an attack on our air base,
right,
or would include our air base. So with that in mind, then I can see that, but it gets into some really dangerous possibilities.
It does. I wondered about this because Qatar, of course, is a backer of Hamas. They've allowed the leadership of Hamas to reside in Doha. This may be a quid pro quo for Qatar cutting Hamas loose.
Yeah, I know.
So let's hope that is the case. But again, just bear in mind.
They can lie.
Yeah, Takia, Tawira, yeah.
Yeah.
So the OG report.
The OG report. Well, I'll give mine very quickly, and then I'll let the dogs in from the backyard. My eyes are much, much better. I think I'm going to be able to start writing soon. Our lives, the lives that Derek and I live together because of his health issues, they have been radically shifted, and I'm now doing more things that I wasn't doing before, and so I actually have less time to write. But I am endeavoring to find ways around the other issues and to do that. Also, those of you who are caregivers for someone who is dealing with some health things, you understand the stresses that it can cause. I told Derek, we had a long talk the other day, and I said, I tend to listen to you. If I'm awake, I'm listening to you. If I'm not in the room with you, I'm listening to the step, because there have been times when you've fallen. And I need to know that as soon as possible so that I can move from one end of the house to the other to look after you. It's only happened a couple of times, and I pray that it never happens again. But that's kind of it. What I'm saying is it's more difficult for me to relax and fully and do other things. But I am learning, and it's a learning process for both Derek and for me, to fully trust in the Lord. Because if something were to happen, I have to believe that the Lord would, the Lord's will be done. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line. Derek and I have also talked about, neither one of us is going to live forever in these bodies. Praise the Lord. Thank you. I don't plan on that. And we've had a lot of friends that have gone home to be with the Lord. Mm-hmm. So that day is going to come eventually for one of us. Maybe at the same time we'll go. Who knows? But we know that many of you are out there praying for us. And so we thank you for that. Like I said, eyes are much better. I can now drive because Derek now has a lot of double vision, which makes it very difficult for him to drive, and he'll tell you more about that in a second. But because my eyes are fixed, I can now take over and do a lot of the driving that he was doing when we would travel. So thank you, Lord, just in time. Yeah. So I will now go take care of the dogs, and you will deliver your part of the OG report. Yeah, Grace is not happy being stuck out on the deck back there. She wants to get back in. I went for an MRI this week. It was supposed to be done last week, and there were some delays in getting results of a basic blood panel that they need before they inject contrast dye into your veins. My doctor's office was a little slow in getting that over there. So anyway, had to take care of that on Tuesday, and
very grateful to our neighbors, Don and Leisha Fields, who drove me up to Springfield. Because again, when I get fatigued, I suffer from double vision, and it's occurring more frequently of late. So whenever we have to drive farther than Crane, for example, which is like 12 minutes away, Sharon does the driving. And so this coming week, I've got an eye appointment to see our optometrist about that. The glasses I've got now are only 6 months old, and for a few months after getting them, because there's a very mild prism in them, they corrected the double vision. I didn't have that issue for several months. Then it started again, slowly, and then again. I was seeing double by the time I got done with my presentation at the Remnant Rising Conference in Springfield, and now it's happening most every day. So hopefully we'll get some answers between the MRI and our optometrist. Don't have the MRI results yet. Those were supposed to be delivered to our doctor Thursday afternoon, but my doctor's office has not yet told me what those results are.
Well, so whatever is going on in your body, the Lord knows, and we rely upon Him to help the doctors to discern that.
Yeah. So we'll, physically, other than that, I'm getting around better. As I've said before, I've put on the weight that I had lost back in the spring, and
most of it's muscle. Yeah,
and it's most of it's muscle. That's a good thing, because I look back now at pictures and video from March, April, and I had not realized how skinny.
Yeah.
I was getting gaunt.
Yeah, you'd lost a lot of muscle mass too.
Yeah, and so that's come back mostly as muscle. So it's come back in different places than where I had it before.
Gloria wants to know if you were doing Zoomies.
Well, no, as she well knows, she is very, very timid around me anymore.
Yeah, because of your cane.
Yeah, I almost lost my balance once as I was getting their food, and stomped, just kind of hit the floor with the cane real hard, and that scared her to the point now where even going outside, I have to make it very clear that I'm holding the door open, and I'm holding it open really wide. The cane is not in sight, and then she'll just kind of very gently, and then she'll run out the door. And the same with her food. When I'm feeding Grace and Glory, Grace is right there, and she's like, okay, food's in the bowl. No. Glory hides in the crate.
It's the other way. Grace is only now eating. Glory's already eaten her food. When I feed him, it's the opposite.
No, Glory's in the crate. She's like, okay, I'll stay inside the steel cage where he can't get me until he moves on.
Let me tell you, Grace and Glory are wonderful, wonderful girls. But Derek and I have said this on these programs before, that we are looking for new homes for both girls. We would, at least for Glory, but they're pretty much bonded. So if you have room in your heart and your home for two wonderful, sweet, sweet dogs, they're spayed, they are well-behaved, they're entertaining, They will protect your yard, and they're great mousers.
Yes, they are.
They really are. They catch. We've had a number of meadow mice in our yard, and they make sure that they don't get past the fence. You come in the fence, you're gone. So I've had to bury quite a number of them outside the fence.
Right. And the crows and the buzzards or whatever. Really,
throw those
really
into the brush field, and they take care of that.
Yeah.
But we just let us know if you think that you would be interested.
And you can send us an email at info@gilberthouse.org. That'll get right to us. info@gilberthouse.org. I'm just looking at a new news item that's just being reported by I-24 News, that a source is telling I-24 News that
they've just finished eating, sorry.
Yes, they're ready to go outside.
They want their chew sticks.
Oh, okay. 5,000 Palestinian security personnel who've been training in Egypt in recent months will enter the Gaza Strip in 3 stages. And at the same time, thousands of Palestinian police officers will continue training in Jordan to prepare to enter into the Gaza Strip under the agreement. These will operate under the supervision and management of the Gaza Management Committee, which will include 15 Palestinian technocrats.
Technocrats?
Technocrats.
Palestinian technocrats?
Yeah, who will operate under the guidance of the Gaza Management Council, which will be led by Tony Blair. Which will operate within the framework of the mandate given to it by the Governing Council, which will be led by President Donald Trump.
Tony Blair has been the hand behind the actions, some of the actions in the United Kingdom.
Right.
He has never released control. He was part of the quartet that thought that they were going to enact peace in the Middle East, and he's still he also is heavily invested in his son's company that is going to administer the Brit card.
Okay, that's the digital ID that the UK is going to impose on its citizens. Yeah,
essentially the mark of the beast, allegedly, we have to say.
Right. Well,
but it will track everything they do and say.
The only advantage I see to this, and I know we're really running long here, but just very quickly, the only advantage to Israel is that if they can get their troops out of Gaza, because they've had reservists who've been called up for the better part of 2 years now, they can send those men and women home. They can resume their jobs, return to their farms, their businesses. This has been tearing Israeli society apart. And people who say, no, Netanyahu wants this war because it keeps him in power. No, it's tearing Israeli civil society apart. 10%. And imagine if 1 out of every 10 of us Americans was called up into a war.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anything close to that since World War II. That's what's happening in Israel right now. That's why you've got volunteers going over to Israel to work on farms and help pick fruit and stuff.
It's why you have guys in their 50s who've been called back.
Yes. The archaeologist that we were with at Gilgal Rephaim has been called up twice now and deployed into Gaza. And he's not, he's not old, but he's not a young guy anymore either.
No, not at all.
So anyway, but this would be the advantage to Israel, turning this over to Palestinians. The question is, will they remain peaceful? I am skeptical.
They will not, because they want all of it.
Yes. The goal is restoration of the caliphate, the global ummah, in other words, spreading jihad globally. Now, there are moderate Muslims out there, and I would say that at this point, Saudi Arabia, which 100 years ago was very much living a fundamentalist form of Islam and very anti-Israel. At this point, they're probably ambivalent, but they look at Israel as at least an enemy of Iran. Sunnis and Shias hate each other even more than they hate Jews. So, enemy of my enemy. I think the Saudis would be fine with Israel remaining in place and partnering with the Israelis against Iran.
However, I think these militant Islamists will expect moderate Muslims to do exactly what they tell them.
Yeah, and they will infiltrate these security forces. So, it is...
Pray for them. Pray for all of these individuals. Pray for your Muslim friends. Pray for the Islamists, because you don't know whether or not that person might accept Jesus as Savior and King.
Exactly. Yeah. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Yes, please do.
And that's why we're going to Israel in a couple of weeks, and why we plan to go back as long as we're physically able. With all that is going on in the world right now, what better time to go? These are prophetic times.
Hallelujah. I so agree.
Amen.
I so agree.
Well, Gilbert House Fellowship again tomorrow morning. View from the Bunker, Iron and Myth, on hiatus until we get back from Israel.
Yep.
So, until next time, I'm Derek Gilbert.
I am Sharon Gilbert, and for Grace and Glory, who are good girls in the front yard. Bye-bye, everybody. We love you.
PID Radio is produced by Gilbert House and released under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Follow us online, Twitter @PID Radio, or the PID Radio page at Facebook. Join us each week for our online Bible study, the Gilbert House Fellowship, online at gilberthouse.org.